Hey everybody, welcome to my Hot Toys Iron Spider review. Um, Before I get started, I'd like to tell you what this review is because some people have been confused about the kind of reviews I do. I don't do super technical reviews. My stuff comes mainly from just exploring the figure, how it fits into my collection, why I bought it, why maybe you should buy it or not buy it. If you're looking for super in-depth technical stuff, you obviously would prefer some of the other reviewers out there, which is great. You know, I watch their videos too. You've probably already seen them. But if you're interested in something different, you'll like this review. Otherwise, you know, you can just stop watching now. One thing I'd like to apologize for is I always, if you watch my other reviews, I like to do them with natural light, and I do not currently have natural light. If I was going to wait for it, it would take me a couple days because of work and all that. So I just got this figure straight from Sideshow Collectibles, and I'm going to do the review with the light from my collection and just the lamp. Hope you don't mind. So this is, you're looking at it from artificial lighting from here and from the lamp over there. What else? Before I get started, I'd like to maybe mention a couple of things to see if you guys have had a similar experience. With the UPS guys lately, I don't know if it's because of the holidays or whatever, but I've been having a thing where, you know how they'll try to deliver 3 times, and then after the 3rd time they'll send it back if it's a signature. The UPS guy on 3 separate occasions has, and I'm talking for 3 separate figures because I just got Loki and T'Chaka, so you know you probably can see those videos below you. But this makes 3, where he came supposedly 3 times, but I don't think he came at all. I think they're just saying delivery attempted, and then they're on the 3rd day, since they know they're going to have to send it back. That's the day they actually tried to deliver. So yeah, because like there's no note, there's none of that. So I've been pretty annoyed. I signed a waiver with Sideshow Collectibles to have the signature waived, and then I asked them to switch me to FedEx. So I'll report on that at the next figure I get, which I don't know what it'll be. I'm thinking maybe Gamora or Killmonger or possibly Doctor Strange. But yeah, I don't know which one that'll be. But anyway, let's get on to this review. Now, people have been talking a lot about creases and whatnot. I guess I'll start by saying I only bought this figure because of the Spider-Man PS4 game. So I use the Homecoming outfit anytime during the day, and then at night I use the Iron Spider outfit. I highly recommend it with a light features. It looks amazing in the game at nighttime. I really think it's cool. I wasn't totally blown away by it in the game. Sorry, not the game, in the movie. I liked it in the comics. I love the Civil War comic. You know, it's not the greatest thing ever, but I enjoyed it a lot. I liked the Iron Spider concept. I liked how it was utilized in the film. But this design, for me, I'm gonna make a probably unpopular opinion based on what I've seen with the recent DLC in the PS4 game. That I'm gonna say that this is a better Iron Spider suit than the comic book version. I don't like solid color outfits as much. I like the gold on this one, which the other one has, but I also like the blue. I like the way they broke up the color. So I basically was inspired to buy this figure based on the video game experience. Having said that, I also owned the Homecoming homemade suit and the Homecoming Stark suit. I owned both of those. I sold both of those. I wanted to upgrade. I don't like having multiples in my collection, so I wanted to upgrade to the new suit that we saw in Far From Home, that black and red one. I mean, it might be like dark blue. I'm not quite sure yet, but it's more. It's darker like this one is, maybe a little bit more even. So that's my like. Right now in my head, that's going to be the essential Spider-Man for my collection. But as I said, I don't like duplicates, so why do I have this one? as I mentioned, I liked it in the game. I also felt like for novelty reasons, I wanted it. I also nearly ordered, well, I did order the Gladiator Hulk, but I canceled that one. So that was one I also ordered for novelty reasons, and then decided that I just didn't need it in my collection. My brother-in-law gave me one of those statues up there. I forget what brand it is, but it's Gladiator Hulk, and that suited me. So this one, I kind of felt the same way, like I was gonna not buy it. And like I said, my attitude was changed after the game. So anyway, here I am. I've got the figure, and I think I'm gonna hold on to it for novelty reasons. Spider-Man is probably my third favorite superhero. Batman is number one, and you know, my number two swaps a lot. I like Daredevil. I like Superman. I like Aquaman too, believe it or not. And recently, not so recently, but since they started making the Captain America movies, he's up there too. So Spider-Man is definitely one that I'm willing to have duplicates of. Batman, of course, I have duplicates of. Superman, I've stuck to one version so far, and Cap, I have multiples of. So in terms of collection, I feel like this is good enough. Just looking at it right now in front of me, this is good enough to justify the novelty aspect of it. But how does it stand as a figure on its own? So I have a couple nitpicks already. I've barely touched this figure. It's just out of the box. I only took off the wrappings, that's all. So he's got one of these stands, these dynamic stands. I assume it's for the legs, which are over there. I haven't opened them yet. But you basically have to bend the bar at the back to get him to stand naturally. So I'm not a big fan of that. I was also a little worried about how much room the legs would take inside the D12. So I am going to show you, because I don't know. I'm curious myself. That was one of the reasons I didn't want to buy it, was I wasn't really willing to commit that much space to it. Stand by 1 second while I'm going to use something else to hold up my tripod, but this box, lately, like T'Chaka, Loki, they had those types of boxes where you lift the top off, and then you lift off the plastic covering. Basically, everything is just like facing like this, and you just lift everything up that way. This is one of those like shoebox ones that you have to slide out. I hate these. And as you can see, the back sort of came out of it. I'm not interested, but I will use it to stabilize my tripod. It's a bit shorter now. Sorry about that. Okay, so he's actually leaning forward here. Nope. All right. Let's have a look at him. All right. So right away, as soon as I touched the figure, I had a couple complaints, and these aren't make or deal breakers for me, because Hot Toys, this is a tricky problem. This Iron Spider suit. You need something that shines. You need something that looks metal. You need something that articulates. Those three things, I mean, you can have two, you can't have both. You can't have all three. So the material right away feels like the Arkham Knight Batman. Most specifically, the arms, like that, where the elbows are, and the thighs. Although the thighs don't really articulate that much, but the elbows go up and down, and it's the same material. The other thing is they have these dark stitching, heavy stitching lines, which kind of kill it. Kill like that realism that I like. So I'm not a big fan of that. If you buy these figures like I do for the shelf presence, the realism, and the shelf presence, then this is one you would have to give some thought to. If you're just like, I buy everything Marvel, which I also am like that, then you know, it's less of a difficult decision. But so I'd like to go over the three categories I mentioned, which is you have to make it shiny, and I think they've succeeded in showing you that there is some armor on here. I always like to turn the triceps out. But this part here betrays that. This is not as plated as here. So the question is, could they have made it die cast like the Iron Man figures? I think not, because he doesn't have parts to him. For example, down here, the hip joint, if you look at War Machine and Tony over there, they have, if you look at their thighs and their pelvises, they have gaps, but the Iron Man suit allows for that. This figure does not. So that's one thing I don't think you could have done. I just don't know how you could make, like, maybe the top die cast or the bottom. You would need a redesign of the outfit. Maybe give him some plating, and then possibly, like, if he had this kind of plating down here over his thighs, which I'm kind of surprised he doesn't, but yeah, it's, in terms of the armor, like, I give that one, I give it like a C in terms of making you feel like it's an armored suit. It looks beautiful, so that's great. But then there's the articulation problem, and you probably know by now there is almost none. Like, you see people on Facebook, I've seen their, even today I saw a photo, someone's like, creases be damned, I'm gonna pose this guy like the way he should be, and the pose honestly sucks. Like, not the guy's fault, but he's not really meant to be posed at all. It doesn't, his knees don't bend that far, his legs don't come up that high. It's definitely a look and not a figure. It's got to satisfy an itch for you. Okay, so I'm gonna play around with some of the articulation in a bit, but let's go into some of the accessories. So this figure, interestingly enough, has a lot of crap that I am never going to use. Now, this might be controversial, but batteries, I'm never taking these out, because first of all, it's a pain to turn it on, and I never turned it on enough to justify having the batteries inside because they'll leak. So no thank you. So sorry guys. So I'm not interested in that. These are some tools for inputting batteries. All that's great. So you got some hands. I never liked the poses where he's holding the web. Like, you stick a web in here and it doesn't connect to anything. It never looked right to me, so I never do that one. I do often use these hands, but I don't think I'm going to go for an action pose for him. I don't know if I'm going to go for an action pose for these either. The relaxed hands I might go for. What is the difference between these two? So this looks like a wall crawler. And oh, this is just that, like, extended hand. This one I might use just for some sort of dramatic pose. I'm going to play around with it. And you got basically the same exact thing going on this side. It's all got messed up somehow. Extra pegs. So, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the stand. I like that it's smaller than the wider, like, Civil War ones. I think at some point, if I run out of space, I'm going to switch them all to the black oval stands, like I have for my Dark Knight shelf over there. They're all on black oval stands, so you can fit a lot in there. Yeah, alright, so then you have this mask. I mean, it's nanotech. I like the idea, but it's nanotech, so he never would hold his mask, so thanks, but no thanks. 3 sets of eyes. So So you've got what looks to be like slightly narrow, more narrow, really narrow. They look cool, especially if you take action poses. I'm not going to mess around with it that much. So that's going to stay in the box for me as well. Also, like I remember, I didn't even mess with it on the Stark suit, but the homemade suit had major problems with trying to swap the eyes, so I didn't even touch it. Let's go over here. Some of the standard webs that they've been putting in for a while. Again, it's too messy for me. I don't like dealing with all this. So probably going to stay in the box for me as well, especially since probably won't be in any sort of action pose. We have the LED head here. So the switch is right there. Now this isn't so bad actually, because it's a magnet. So I can just take it off. Like the head comes off really easily. That I'm not, that's actually okay. Maybe I will put the batteries in. But ultimately, I won't turn it on enough, so I don't think so. Okay, and then there's the Tom Holland head, which I've noticed a common trend here with Hot Toys, in that they designed the figure for the masked version. I really like these magnets though. He's looking forward. It looks like a good sculpt. I'm happy with it. Same as the others, but I think his eyes are straightforward now, or not bloody. A clean, straightforward look is different than what we had before. So the body and the neck are designed for the masked version, and you're ending up with a lot of tall neck syndrome on these figures. And the recent photos of the Michael B. Jordan Killmonger prototype that we saw, he looks like he's going to have another long neck. I mentioned this with my other review, but just to make the point again, that Infinity War head is way too long. It looks okay on the Infinity War body, but that's a Civil War body, way too long. I bought the Infinity War head for Thor, and I put it, the neck on the Infinity War body is really long as well. I don't know what the deal is. Then with Loki, that neck is super long as well. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I really like the unmasked heads. As you can see, Iron Man, Star-Lord, Winter Soldier will get an upgrade at some point. I was planning to buy T'Challa's unmasked head. So I do like the unmasked head, and I like that. I like to show off the actor's likeness. That's actually one of the main reasons I collect these, is for that incredible realism of the sculpt. This is as low as it goes. I'm not impressed with that. It looks weird. I mean, it doesn't look that bad. It's just, I'm gonna pick him up for a second. It's long. It's too long for sure. But is it a deal breaker? It looks terrible from that side. Whew, don't show that. Now what if you lower it, it's not sitting snugly on the head anymore. If you lower his head down, that kind of defeats the purpose of having him look straight forward though. I hope Hot Toys ends this habit of long necks. looks good there, right? I might display them like this for a little bit, see how I like it. All right, let me set this all back down. Okay. So now I will attempt to play with the articulation on camera. So it said it can come up. People have said that the creases are permanent, but like the suit heals itself, but the creases will sort of remain. Like he sort of has creases now, which honestly I'm okay with on some level. I'm not gonna impose them like this anymore, but okay, that wasn't that bad. Look at that crotch seam though. Ugh. Ugh, this is terrible. This looks awful. It's just, like, I don't like the way it bunches up. I will say that the original Hot Toy Spider-Mans, the Tobey Maguire one, the black one, and the red and blue, the black one especially, that one articulated really well. I like the fabric. I'd like to see them go back to that. It wouldn't work for this one, obviously. So I'm cutting Hot Toys some slack, but I'd like to see them go back to that. Those arms, if you can see the elbows, man, like you can just tell it's all bunched up and ugly. I'm opening up the legs right now. Four legs. Now the funny thing is, when I was playing on PS4, I never used the ability to unlock the legs. I always liked the thing that gave you more combos. I just used that. I played on hard the whole time, so that was part of it. Was that I kind of needed those combos, so that I wouldn't die. So we've got these. Honestly, these panels on the back where the legs go, not as bad as I expected. But the directions didn't say how to get rid of them. Jesus. He just lost his head, people, but it landed right in front of me. That's interesting. There, I mean, it was a little tough there. I don't want to break it off and regret my life. The pincers allow 360 rotation. Okay, detached indicated. It just says detach. It doesn't say. You guys can see it. It just says detach. It doesn't say how to detach. I'm that guy that anytime I like swung a piñata as a kid, I always broke whatever I was swinging instead of the piñata. So I don't want to do this. Let me see if I can use this tool that it came with. Oh god, but it's so rubbery. Jesus Christ. Did I just break it? Hopefully not. Okay, I mean it just flew off. See, because of just this alone, I'm only doing this for the review. If I was alone right now, I would just stop this. I wouldn't even try. I don't want to do this. Like, okay, that side is a little better. Like the figure, it has the fabric that makes an impression. You can see right there where I sort of pressed hard. I don't like that showing up like that. Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right, let's okay. That wasn't so bad. Are these going to be a pain to pull out also? I mean, I have an entire shelf dedicated to him right now, so I'm not too worried about the space. Let me pop his head back on. The pincers do rotate, as you might expect. This is kind of cool, actually. I mean, it's going to take up a lot of shelf space, but so why don't we, Jesus, so many loose parts hanging around now. Let's try them out in the detail, shall we? And yeah, I got the concept art. Ready to go. I bought these pieces extra, but it doesn't really make sense for this version of the figure, or the character. He's not schoolboy Peter. He's an Avenger. Okay. Ideally, I would like for him to touch the ground. I'm going to do that thing. I should have done this before. I don't want to do it on glass. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to bend this forward. Okay. I think we got it. The bottom legs are a little troublesome in terms of navigating them with the stand. And this is something I think I'll play with later, like the legs. I think that's where you're going to get the sense of like movement and action. Is you can style the spider legs a little better. So I would imagine him being in the back here. I would have the Far From Home Spider-Man right here. I'm probably going to need my own shelf for the villains, honestly. But I'm not interested in the noir suit or anything like that right now. The colors do pop though. I mean, this right here is good enough for me. Let's get that Peter head on. How bad does it look to you? honestly, it's not that bad. Am I crazy? The pictures were way worse, like those blogger photos. They were way worse. If the futz his, arms a little bit more, maybe make him stepping forward like I do with some of the other figures to give him a little sense of movement, but yeah, I like it. Alright, let's, one more thing I wanted to do was put Iron Man next to him. Oh, Jesus. This is gonna be a problem. Ah, damn it. Okay, he's okay. Forgot this thing doesn't have a waist clamp. I like to put my die-cast figures on the wood instead of the glass. It's fine. I've had them on the glass before, but whatever. Civil War is my favorite Marvel movie. So that's a height difference for you, which I don't think is accurate at all to the movie. Robert Downey Jr. is way too tall for this figure, or in this figure. And I think Tom Holland is maybe accurate, maybe a tad undersized. But I'll take it. That whole thing about him being a kid and all that, like, that was fun, but he sure moved up to, like, Avenger status quickly. And I think I expect him to graduate now based on the timeline. Far From Home should be his last high school movie. So he still has the kid physique. Anyway, alright, let's look at some concept art. Infinity War, the Art of Infinity War, which came out in November to avoid spoilers. Oh, glare is going to kill me here. Just adjust. So this is what we've got. This is him storyboarding how he gets his armor on. It's a good scene in the movie. This is the final product. The choice to do the legs in the movie did not come about up front. It was essentially, let's do an Iron Man based Spider-Man suit. So I was doing versions of that and trying to find a happy medium between a Spider-Man suit and an Iron Man suit, and it was only later that the decision to actually put the legs on it came in. I had also done leg designs that had more red and black mixed in with them because I was trying to treat the nanotech suit as being an overall aesthetic that would apply to the legs as well as to the suit, but I think they were looking for ways to sort of pop the legs a little bit more against the suit and against the environment, and doing them as gold pincer legs really worked out for them. You can see here they're red and gold. Interesting. This is pretty close to what we got. Just no lights. I'm not seeing any lights on this one. What is the difference between these two? A little lighter. The one on the left is, the color scheme is closer to what we got. This is very similar to the Far From Home outfit. So that's more of a classic. I don't know. I feel like this is better. Like it's got a little more to it. This is a little plain for me. That's a cool picture. I pitched a number of other suit designs that were closer to the comics, but it felt like people were reasonably willing to go in a slightly new direction. black, huh? That's interesting. Black and gold. It's really interesting. This looks like the same. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't go with those. Okay, that's it. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I know I've got kind of a casual style, so feel free to check out my collection at The Iron Cube on Instagram. Check out my podcast, The Iron Cube Fights Movies. We are reviewing Into the Spider-Verse this week. Aquaman after that. And check out my Hot Toys Dark Knight graphic novel called The Dark Knight Legacy on Facebook. Alright, I will see you guys next time.